Here we are. We're live. This is kind of a test show. We're going to check it out. We're going to go to the channel real quick. Hope you can hear me. Let's go to my channel. View your channel. All right there. Live. Gotta get a new thumbnail. Let's see what it looks like. Oh yeah, you can hear me nicely. Checked it out myself. So this is the first of many lives that we're going to be doing here at the ProPath Financial YouTube channel, sometimes known as the Functional Retirement. I'm Thatcher Taylor. Today we're going to talk about interest rates, but I thought it would be important to give everyone a little insight into what this is going to look like. First of which, this is unedited. This is going to be very chill, but very knowledgeable. So this is going to be a little bit more intimate. We're going to actually discuss some stuff. And to do that, I want to let you know that you're free to go to the comment section on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm actually going to test that too. Hello, everyone. Comment here. And it should be able to come through and see the comments, and I should be able to check them out and read them and show them. See this right there? Boom. So today we're going to be talking about the interest rate frenzy. They're finally dropping. But before that, who here believes that interest rates currently are a big deal? Who believes they're a big deal? Obviously, we think they're a big deal. Everyone else thinks they're a big deal. All the news outlets are talking about them because they think it's a big deal. But who here thinks interest rates are a really, really big deal? Do you know what interest rates are historically? Have you guys seen that? Let's look at it. Let's take a look. Let me show you this. Let me share my screen. We're gonna share a little screen here. We're gonna go here. Share. We're gonna put it. You see it right there? You guys like this one better? Now let's do this one. What about this one? No, I like this one the best. You can see way over here. Way over here. This is pretty much where we are. This is June 2023. Then it's held steady into 2024. Very steady. They haven't made any changes. And we'll get into they here in just a second. But this is the Federal Reserve. This, in the next few quarters, is going to start going down, obviously, because they're cutting rates by 0.5%. But you can see here in this chart that they are at normal levels. This is normal. So who thinks this is a big deal? You think this is a big deal to be normal? You want to know what I think is a bigger deal? I'll tell you what a bigger deal is. Was anybody making a big deal about how low rates have been from April 2022 to November of 2008? No one made a big deal about that. Has everyone forgotten about that? The Federal Reserve's rates were historically low for 2009, even at 2019, 2% for 10 years, for a decade. And obviously, interest rates are a big deal because of inflation. Everybody's worried about inflation. And inflation and interest rates are reasonably correlated. Just one lags. Interest rate changes usually lag. They drop interest rates as far as they can get them to spur economic growth. As you can see here, something usually happens. Let's work back. 2019, 2020, COVID, rates plummet. 2007, rates plummet. Dot-com bubble burst, rates plummet. So you can see that there are a series of events that happen along the way to drive down interest rates. Interest rates become very, very low. Money becomes very easy to get. Lending becomes easy, or I'm sorry, borrowing becomes very easy. And then to slow things down, they raise interest rates, all controlled by the Federal Reserve, the Fed funds rate. And do you know what the Fed funds rate is? Does anybody know? Anybody comment? Are we getting any comments yet? No comments yet. I can't even see how many people are watching. None yet, but that's okay. We got to start somewhere. Every journey starts with one step. But the Fed funds rate is the overnight lending rate between banks. Okay? Bank short on cash. Every bank has a minimum cash requirement. They need to borrow some money from another bank. They lend it at a very low overnight rate. That's what the Fed funds rate is. It's the overnight rate that banks borrow money. They go to a bank and I go, hey, I'm a little low on my cash reserves. There was a lot of withdrawals today. The other bank goes, no problem. How much you need? I need $1 million or whatever it is. I don't know. They go, yeah, no problem. And this is the rate that banks borrow. From here, all the other rates out in the world are cultivated, except credit card rates. I mean, a credit card rate is like close to 30% right now, which is just highway robbery, but predominantly bank lending rates for personal loans based on the quality of borrower, mortgages based on the quality of borrower, business loans, again, based on the quality of the borrower, are all based and ratcheted up off this federal funds rate. So that's why interest rates have been so high for lending on mortgages, for example. This says about 5.33%, but I bet that mortgages have been close to 6.5 or 7%, depending on what type of mortgage you're utilizing. Now the Fed's going to bring this down. They think that because of increasing the interest rate, they've been able to slow down inflation. Increasing the interest rates gets less money into people's pockets. You're going to say, well, how does that work? How does changing interest rates get less money in people's pockets? Or how does it slow down economic growth? Well, lower rates, like in this section, say 2020 to 2021, let's say 2022, that basically year period. Think about what was happening then. You could borrow a mortgage at a very, very low rate. Lifetime mortgage rates, 2 and 3% locked in. When that happens, a lot of people will refinance to a lower rate and it severs their payment. So one, they're saving money on their mortgage by extending out their mortgage another 30 years to increase cash flow. So they're getting very affordable cash almost overnight by refinancing to a lower rate and extending out for 30 years. So that produces more cash on a monthly basis that people get to spend. You could borrow and buy a house for very cheap and keep your mortgage at a reasonable rate if you're going to buy a first-time house at a very low rate. You could have done some borrowing to start a business. In addition, big businesses were able to borrow at very low rates, and they were able with low rates to reduce their lending costs within their business, and they were able to spend and help grow their business. We've seen that economic growth in our markets the past couple of years. And you don't believe me? Oh, well, okay. Well, let me show you. Let me just show you what we got the past, let's say 5 years. Let me switch this over. We're gonna present right here. Very simple Google search. The past 5 years, the S&P 500 is up 90% in the past 5 years. March 27th, 2020 is when it hit the bottom, but it's worked its way, not linearly, not every step of the way. It's not a straight line. 2022 was a rough year, but in general, the market has done really, really well, regardless of the high interest rate environment. But you can see that the low rates in the 2020s right here really cultivated the beginning of good economic growth over the next few years, really high inflation. So when there's really high inflation, what's happening? Businesses are charging more for their products and services. We're all having to pay more. So that's good for business. They're better. It's good for their bottom line. There's a lot of things that come into it, but we have to know that interest rates and inflation and the market, they all kind of work together. There's a reason for behind it. This adjusting interest rates with the Federal Reserve is called quantitative easing and quantitative tightening. It's been in the economic playbook for decades. They know that. Quantitative easing and quantitative tightening. Normal. Happens all the time. The Federal Reserve buys back more, essentially bonds from banks, and it puts more cash in the economy. And then when they start selling more, that increases the rates. The banks have to buy them. And when they buy them at the rates, the Fed funds rate, they got to lend them out at a higher rates to make more money. It's just kind of how it works. Been in the playbook for years. So what do we go from here? Like, what happens next? Obviously, everyone here most likely knows that I'm a financial planner. I run a financial advisory business. So what am I telling my clients? What do we do from here? What happens next? I mean, there's nothing we really do. If you just bought a house, maybe you can refinance, but that's only if you bought a house recently, but you got to see where rates go. They need more economic data to really start to reduce the rates that are used for mortgages. So we don't exactly know what those are going to look like, but they're probably going to go down. As far as the market goes, no clue. No one has any idea. It's funny if we go back to this chart. Let's go back to this chart. Let's stop the screen. Let's go here. Let's go back to our chart. If we go back to our chart, you can see that rates are going to start to come down, and we're going to get another one of these dips. But you know what's funny? And I'm not calling my shot. I'm not saying anything bad's going to happen. I don't know. But you know what's funny is when you look at this chart, let's go all the way back. 1957, there's a peak, and then there's a drop. And this gray must mean some sort of event. I'm assuming some sort of event happened with these gray lines. Let's see if it says anything. Oh, right here. Shaded areas indicate U.S. recessions. But anyway, so all these gray areas are recessions. Right here. I'll link this in the comments. I'll link this if anybody wants to check it out. I'll put it right here if anybody wants to check it out. But it's funny, and it's probably not crazy to assume, every one of these substantial drops in rates, all these right here, this is kind of on the start of it. That's when the recession starts. Right here, this is in the middle of it. This is the recession. This right here, the little COVID recession, I guess. All these are right at the start or in the middle of a drop in rates after the rates hit some sort of peak. You notice that? Don't we all find that interesting? Is that what's going to happen next, right around here? August 2024? Or are they going to hang tight? You got to understand, the things that people talk about, low rates, taking advantage of low rates, getting more cheap money, that comes at a cost. You don't understand that 2009 to 2019 was an absolute freak anomaly. Do you see that? Can you see that there? because through that window of time, 2010 to 2019, the market crushed. It killed through that 10-year period. Oh, my kid's coming home. I'm a little busy right now. Can't talk. Can't talk right now. I'll be out in a minute. See that, folks? Candid. It's real life. It's real life. But going back to what we're talking about. This 2010 to 2019 is a freak anomaly. Extremely low rates and the market crushes. That's when it was great. Now we're back to ebbs and flows, kind of what we were used to historically. The extreme swings in interest rates in short windows of time. So now, is there going to be some sort of quote unquote recession coming? Maybe. But here's what I can tell you. If there is a recession, if the Federal Reserve even sniffs with economic data that there is struggles in the economy, they're going to cut back interest rates. They're going to cut them back, ease them up. That's what they're going to do. But there might be some struggles in the environment, in our world along the way. That's why the 2010s were crazy. People are going to say that it was a struggle through there. It was not. Rates were low, and from 2010 to 2020, 2019, the market crushed. It did so well. In fact, can we see that? Let's see if we can see that. We're gonna stop sharing again. We're gonna present. We're gonna go back to our VOO, which VOO is just the ETF of the S&P 500. Look at this. From 2010, it was at 101 to 2019, it was at 221. 2019, 285. It almost tripled. The S&P 500 almost tripled when most of you were probably so scared to invest because of 2008, 2009, the housing crash, which I get it. It was kind of scary, but it almost tripled. It's crazy. So interest rates going to go down just a little bit. We'll see if they take us in for a soft landing. But who knows? Who knows what this looks like from here? What you should do about it, though, one, not freak out. Two, stop listening to the news. They don't know either. No, I'm serious. The people talking on your favorite news network, do you think they have any idea? Do you think they're spending time studying interest rates and inflation? No, they don't care. They just want your eyeballs. They want to freak you out. But moving forward, if you're investing, your investments aren't for the next year. Any sort of active investment that's going to be built for long growth isn't going to be used or shouldn't be used for years and years and years, especially in your mind. You shouldn't be having money that you need next year invested in the S&P 500. Let me repeat. If you need money next year, that money shouldn't be invested in the S&P 500. One advantage with interest rates, though, is if you're coming into retirement or you are in retirement and you are wanting to utilize an annuity, single premium, like you're taking a lump sum of money and you're going to annuitize it. You're going to turn that into a stream of income for the remainder of your life or you and your spouse's life. These good rates are really valuable. These new rates are really helpful to being able to get good amounts of income. When they're lower rates, you don't get as much. The return that you get on those annuities isn't as good. Regardless of that, the money that you're investing shouldn't be used for next year's income, which most people are. But if you're checking this out, even when it'll still be on the page, the YouTube channel, for indefinitely. Make sure to comment on what you thought about this. I'm going to be going live a lot more often. So make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to get on there. We're going to start talking about more interesting topics, and we're just going to do it live, more candid. This is the first one. This is the first one. Right now, 0 viewers. So let's try to get some more viewers. Let's try to inch that up over time. But that's all for now. If anybody make it this far, thanks for watching. Tune in next time. Peace.